Step in, everybody. Welcome back to the program. This is Make Myth episode 20. It's incredible that we're still here. My name is E.I. Werner. I've been a fantasy author for 18 years now, and currently I am working on a project where I am writing the mythology for a fantasy world. As part of that, I have been doing a lot of research about different mythologies, and that brought me to ask certain sort of questions like, is Earth a she? And we have been working on that the last couple of weeks. I've done a lot of research to get these longer lecture series out to you, and it's a little bit of a unique format. These are longer lectures than I plan to do in the future, but I went down the rabbit hole, and now I'm bringing you guys with me. Today's the last episode, so for those of you who are here, thank you. I so do appreciate it. And there is one thing that I must announce before we do anything, is that this episode is dedicated to my brand new niece, born today, Jessie Frieda. I'm not going to dox her, but she is a precious angel. And so I just want to shout out my sister-in-law, Jules, and the new baby, Jessie Frieda. Welcome to the world. We love you. We're so excited to have you here. From your uncle. Okay, so that's the dedication. Let's keep going on. So we're going to go back through, is Earth a she? We talked about how the question itself is nonsensical, right? It's like asking, is Tuesday tall? You are using the wrong language to discuss a planet. You know, she is just not the right word to use to discuss a planet. And the planet doesn't have any chromosomes, no gametes, etc. But humans keep saying she, and we've proven that over the last couple episodes, and we're going to prove it again in our recap today. And so the question that we're going to be asking ourselves, is she more she than she is epicene? And I got to explain what that means. Epicene means you're neither gender, because you're both genders. You're so both genders that you're neither gender, right? And so the bar is not just, is she more masculine than she is feminine? The bar is she more she than she is just genderless, essentially? And the real ultimate question that we're going to be asking together, is this just a coincidence that all these people just feminize the earth and call her she? Is this a projection, as humans tend to do, to our dogs, to our cars, to places, projecting ourselves onto this planet, and it has no real basis? Or could a constellation of these factors pointing in a dominant pattern towards a singular perspective, could that hint at some underlying truth that we might uncover in this series together? And so I will walk you through all of that today. And over the course of this series, I started with show notes. Now I don't need the notes anymore. I'm just going to go off my memory. If you have any questions, I'm able to go much deeper in on a lot of these topics as I have learned to master some of this material. Any questions, please chime in. Anything that you find interesting, please chime in. We're doing this together. This is live. I will be making a video of this, so if you, but I think it's going to be much cooler for us to have a real conversation here. And please don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat. Don't hesitate to put a like in the chat. That's I'm not the most adept at saying that, but we got to get used to it. And so if you could throw a like, that would be great. Let's keep moving. So we're defining what she is as far as whether is Earth a she, and we're saying that this is all about archetypes. This is about recurring patterns that happen across cultures, across continents, that never interacted with each other, things that are kind of baked into our collective subconscious as a human species. And so these are going to be things like gestation, childbirth, nourishment, embodied nourishment, like you can actually give fruit of yourself, cyclical fertility. For example, the earth has seasons, and women have menstrual cycles. And then the final one is receptivity. It's this idea in this mythological register that the feminine is something that is acted upon, that there's usually some stimulus and then something new comes out of it, but usually it's not the first actor. Usually there's a receptivity. So that's what that word means right there. So we've had two words that we've learned tonight. Epicene means both, neither gender. Receptivity is not going to come up as much, but that's another concept that we have here about femininity at an archetypal level. What we said this wasn't, what she isn't, is a woman, chromosomal or genetic sex at all. There's no sex anatomy to do with this at all. It has nothing to do with social gender role or modern identity vernacular. We are talking about time. We're looking for timeless truths. We're looking for ancient history and those sorts of things. And we just do need these qualifiers here because this is something very important and dear to a lot of different people. And I don't want to step on any toes. I don't want to offend anyone. And I am asking, I think, a pretty clear question is Earth a she? Is she more she than she is epicene? From all these different perspectives, and we're going to walk through them together today. So let's continue. So we'll do a quick recap of where we were, just blowing through them so that people can learn about this stuff sequentially. We looked at mythologically, is Earth a she? We decided that she is mostly a she because there's this incredibly powerful, influential, dominant pattern of a recurring dyad wherein the sky is the father and the earth is the mother, and there's this fertility ritual, this fertility concept where the rain is sort of semen like, and it's fertilizing of the feminine earth of the ground. And it's incredibly dominant pattern all across Indo-European into Eurasia. So what does that mean? We got to go all the way west to like Iceland, and then you got to go all the way east past India into Asia. And this is where this dyad was super prevalent and dominant in that entire region. And so even though we found that there are some inversions, for example, Egypt, we found that Egypt wasn't such a perfect disprover because there's no rain in Egypt, so it doesn't follow the same principle as others. And we also discussed how even though this happens all the time, she's a rather minor goddess. She's not the most important goddess. She's often relegated to the sidelines in favor of newer, more influential goddesses. So now we're going to talk about linguistically, unless anybody has any questions in the chat about mythologically. We're going to keep cruising because we theologically, and our conclusion today is the most important thing that we're going to be talking about. Feel free to chime in. So we said, just as a brief reminder, we said that Earth mostly equals she. She is she when it comes to a mythological register. It's not a perfect one. It's slightly modified, a slight hedge there. So is Earth a she linguistically? We said pretty strongly that she is. It was proven that in 26 of 32 languages wherein the language genders their noun, so you have to assign a male or a female, 26 of 32, that's over 80%, gendered Earth feminine. And that is just that's way beyond statistically probable to indicate a sort of a pattern. Now, moving forward, it's even across as unrelated language family. So we talked about Indo-European, that's actually a language family that includes like Latin and Greek and English, etc. But there's also other language families like the Sino-Tibetan, like Chinese, and it also feminizes Earth. And so when you go across these sort of language families, and you find even in languages that don't gender Earth, you find so many examples. For example, Chinese Mandarin, where they feminize the Earth even though they don't gender their nouns. We found that it was rather proven that linguistically, Earth does equal she. She's more she than she is epicene, and that was the conclusion that we came up to on on linguistically. Ooh. Now, continuing forward with philosophically. So philosophically, we went back and we studied all of the different ancient Athenians and that entire pantheon of different terrific philosophers. We also looked at more modern philosophers and philosophers from across the different continents. And what did we find? We found that overwhelmingly, unanimously, Earth was a she. Almost unanimously, Earth was a she. We're talking about Plato, Aristotle, Pythagoras. They made it extremely clear that several things. Number one, Earth is a mother. Number two, nature is a feminine entity, and forming of that nature and shaping it is a masculine entity. And they also agreed, unfortunately, that women, that it was women, that the nature form was the lower form, that shaping that form was more important and more prized. And so we recognize that there are some incredible contemporary thinkers like Shelley Ortner who discussed how this nature framing, nature feminine, Earth, like a nature feminine, culture masculine debate has actually precluded women from cultural spaces for a long time. But then we also read from this brilliant feminist theorist named Caroline Merchant that Earth, philosophically, Earth's femininity actually used to protect it. If we thought it was more feminine, then we wouldn't go ahead and actually treat her the way we do. You can read her quote. It says, "One does not readily slay a mother dig into her entrails for gold. So if we did see her as more feminine, we would likely treat her resources with a little bit more reverence, a little bit more respect. And so on one hand, we have feminist theorists who are speaking about how the nature divide actually subordinated women, and we have others talking about how it protected the earth. So some nuance there in the philosophical department, but overwhelmingly, unanimously, earth equals she across all of the different philosophical pantheons. And even those feminist theorists did not disagree. They came in completely aligned with that as a universal, almost borderline universal truth. So is Earth a she scientifically? This is the one we went into last time, and it got pretty complex, and I stripped it out and stripped it down to a more simple level today, and we're gonna jump into it. Actually, let's take a quick break. Let's sit down. Let's because there's a little bit of a delay. There might be some people in the chat, and I want to give people an opportunity to ask any questions about this philosophical question before we move on. And if nobody ends up answering, I can always just clip this out. But if there anybody is there anybody in the chat, and if you are in the chat, do you have any questions on why we are claiming that Earth does equal she philosophically? Anyone? All good if not. Could be I'm just so good at explaining it that nobody has any questions. That's what I think it is, fam. That's what I think it is. All right, so let's keep cooking. Don't be afraid to hop in the chat. I can always revisit back if there's something that's confusing that you'd like me to check out. Let's go ahead and do it. So we wrapped up philosophically. Now we're going into scientifically, and this really became popular in 1974 with this hypothesis called the Gaia hypothesis. You might have heard about it. It was by this guy James Lovelock, and he was a NASA scientist who was responsible for surveying different planets to see if they were suitable for life. And he was responsible for doing the survey. His take was he did surveillance of the atmospheres of all these different planets, including Mars. And he teamed up with a biologist after looking at the unique properties of Earth's atmosphere to say that with the Gaia hypothesis that the Earth is actually self-regulating and always constantly changing its atmosphere and evolving in order to maintain the optimal composition for life to exist. And this stirred up a massive storm. There were people who were making churches out of it to like worshiping Gaia because he used the name Gaia for the hypothesis. Keeping in mind, he used it just because a friend of his who was like a novelist who was into mythology recommended it, not because he believed that Earth was a goddess, but people took it very seriously and the scientists freaked out. And so they ended up having a huge conference where everybody came together and voted, where all these different parties in Amsterdam in 2001 came together and voted to make clear that although the Earth is extremely unique and its atmosphere self-regulates with the biosphere, with those things that are alive, it is just an emergent property. It's not an organism. It has no conscious will to actually self-regulate, even though it does self-regulate. And so scientifically, we were able to say quite clearly that Earth is not a she. Earth is not a she when it comes to scientifically, because even the founders of the Gaia hypothesis, which became so popular, went on to disavow it. If we look at this, Gaia itself is not an organism. It is an emergent property. That's Lynn Margulis. That's the biologist that our homie James Lovelock paired up with to actually walk through this, to actually present this hypothesis. And so they ended up walking it back. And because of all of that, we decided that scientifically it was clear that she did not that she was not a female, because other people had already made that decision for us, much smarter than we are. How's everybody doing? Can everybody hear me all right? Audio's all right. If anybody's in the chat, go ahead and say what's up. I would love to get one chat in here and to make sure everything's working. I'm going to take a quick breather before we jump into actual today's topic. Anyone in the chat, say what up. Are we out here, fam? All right, no love in the chat, unfortunately. That's okay. I want to take pauses to give people the opportunity to speak, even if they don't take that opportunity. And we can go ahead and continue. And we're going to go to slower pace. That was all recap, team. That was all recap. It's a 7-minute recap, roughly, where we actually, I don't know exactly how long it's been, but it's was a quick recap of all the different perspectives, and now we're going to wrap up with theologically, which can often be the most charged. Once you start talking about somebody's religion, things can get complicated, but I'm going to try to simplify them for us as we break it down. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to read a passage, and I'm going to also explain it to you and give you some commentary on it. So this is from Jeremiah, who's a major prophet of the Old Testament. He goes, "And all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word, the name of the Lord," the prophecy that has been given by Jeremiah, "we will not hearken unto thee." We're not going to listen to you. "But we will certainly burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, as we have done, we and our fathers, for then we had plenty of victuals." That's food, things to drink, things to eat. "For we had plenty of victuals, but now we have wanted all things and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine." And so what this is saying here is that Jeremiah is giving these people a prophecy, these people who fled Babylon for Egypt, and he's telling them, like, yo, you cannot burn this incense, you cannot worship anybody except for Yahweh. And these people are saying, we absolutely refuse to do that, because back when we used to make our offerings up to the Queen of Heaven, including their fathers. And by the way, this was in Jerusalem that we're talking about. So their fathers, for generations they had, there was a woman, a female Queen of the Heaven to consider. So these are people from Judea. These are people in Israel that Jeremiah is having to convince that not to worship them, and they worshiped her fervently. And if you can look at this is from the title image. This is a vase that says Yahweh and his Asherah in Hebrew, okay, found near Sinai. And that's what the title of the video is. The title image is this zoomed in. You can see he has a penis and she's more feminine. And it is in a Hebrew translation that says Yahweh and his Asherah, Asherah being the goddess's name. And so if we go just a little bit forward, this is just the last verse, I swear. It says, "The king commanded Hilkiah and the high priest to bring out of the temple of Yahweh all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the Asherah," that's the female goddess we talked about, "and for all the army of the sky, and he burned them outside of Jerusalem." So what we can see here is that there is a moment wherein all of the old idols, all of the old gods that are being worshipped are actively destroyed. They're actively taken down. And this is well documented in the Old Testament. And so if we continue forward, what we can see, that we're going to take the perspective that she is for a moment, which is to say that there is this goddess, the Asherah, and she's a goddess that they removed, and she could be considered potentially related to that Earth Mother goddess that we talked about in the mythological perspective, that was the Indo-European Earth Mother goddess. And so, but they ultimately defeminized her, and they deified her, and they took her away in this sense of monotheism. So monotheism comes in. Actually, I didn't do a great job of explaining that. Let me try again. So the theological argument for why Earth is a she, and we're going to take that argument for a moment here, is the first one is this woman Asherah, this mysterious figure, this mysterious partner of God, the Queen of Heavens, the consort of the heavens, who was actively destroyed. So there were a lot of records. There were people who fervently worshipped her, and then she was ultimately destroyed. And there are also some people that still worship an earth goddess. For example, the Hindus have Bhudevi, and so it's not entirely clear that the Bhudevi is worshipped today, worshipped and displaced. The only god is named. So essentially, we can just keep moving forward. I think this slide is a little bit redundant with the later one. So these are the figurines. These are figurines that are in the Israel Museum that were found, and some people argue that these are Asherah. These are feminine deified clay figures that are over 3,000 years old, found in Israel. And if we continue on for the argument against equal she, which is the much more compelling argument, I argue, is that monotheism displaced her, right? So if you have one God, in the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth. He just creates them. They aren't a being that has a story of their own. It's mostly just a setting for which the cosmos takes place, and it is certainly not deified. And I think to deify her, especially based on the reaction that Jeremiah had, which was punishing all these people for worshiping a female deity, we can see that monotheism does not tolerate a clear allowance of, does not tolerate a feminine deity at the level in between God and us, that some feminine in between layer of divinity is not accepted by monotheism. And if we look at monotheism, it's like, let's say, these are all estimates, but it's like 29% Christian, 25% Muslim, less than 1% Jewish, but that's over 50% right there of monotheistic people who would say that theologically, Earth is not feminine, because that would deify her and that would go against the monotheistic principles. And so I think that it's pretty compelling to say that she's not. And if we even look at Islam, so Islam was one of the most interesting ones, because Islam actually is a language where where they do gender their nouns, but when they describe Allah, they say there's nothing whatever like unto him, and they describe Allah as an epicene entity beyond gender, and so they are really not including the feminine at all in this creation, in the foundation of Earth at all. And so the final conclusion here from a theological perspective is that Earth is not a she. Earth is not a she from a theological perspective. If you believe in monotheism, you most likely don't. You believe that she is a deity, or if you were following that belief to its logical conclusion, you would not believe that. And we can also be clear that it was deliberately suppressed, that it wasn't just something that disappeared, it was something that was destroyed. And so on one hand, you could say that that's so ancient that it could be more ancient, that it could be more true. But in the war of gods, worship is blood, right? Worship is the value. And since she has no longer worshipped, it's pretty clear that she has lost that. She's become toothless in this war of the gods. And she's just a very minor goddess. Even when she's still around, she gets replaced very frequently by more major goddesses. And so theologically, I just don't think that that you could realistically say that she is more female than she is epicene in any way that is justified by the evidence in a clear dominant pattern. So let's review where we're at, team. And this is, I think, where things start to get a little bit interesting. And I would be most curious to hear everybody else's perspective, which is, so we're asking ourselves, is Earth a she? And we're reviewing all these different perspectives. We're saying, okay, mythologically, we said yes, mostly. Okay, it's a dominant pattern, but there are places it doesn't show up. There are inversions, and so, like, for example, Japan, for example, Egypt, that don't work well with it. So it's mostly true, but not 100%. It's the only qualifier that we are throwing in there. We also have linguistically, we said, yes, there's a dominant pattern across languages that do gender their nouns, and also across languages that don't gender their nouns. It's an overwhelming pattern. I believe that if we had to give it an answer, yes or no, that language does say yes in that instance. Philosophically, we also said there was unanimous agreement. Even amongst feminist philosophers, none of them disagreed that there was a universality to the philosophical perspective, aligning Earth and nature with femininity. And again, Aristotle, Plato, Pythagoras, they all wrote extensively on this and very clearly on their belief there that philosophically the Earth is feminine for sure. And then scientifically, we said absolutely not. The Earth is not female, that much smarter people have already discussed this. There was a Gaia hypothesis that got extremely popular, extremely a lot of attention, and there was a huge uproar about it. And so ultimately they had to come out and clarify that they weren't speaking about Earth as a goddess with a clear desire or obsession to keep life alive. It really just regulates itself as it's an emergent property. It's not an organism, right? And it couldn't be feminized. And so those smarter people than us already answered that question, because the people who came up with the philosophy are the ones who actually broke it down. And so that was our scientific perspective. And then theologically, we also said no, that she does not equal a she. Why? Because monotheism really puts all the onus of creation on a singular monotheistic God. It really does not allow for a huge amount of worship of other deities to create enough space in the pantheon for a female deity, an earth deity, to really survive and thrive there. And so we said theologically, no, the evidence does not point to that, considering the ubiquity of monotheistic religions, considering that's not aligned with that theologically. That was the conclusion that we came to theologically. And so now that we have shared our perspective mythologically, linguistically, philosophically, scientifically, and theologically, it's time for me to share what I actually think, my own personal opinion. And I would love to hear what everybody has to say throughout any of this, but I am going to go ahead and speak from the heart about what I actually do believe. All right, so this is my opinion. Is Earth a she? After doing dozens of hours of research, after putting together 4 presentations, after reading all of the source texts, my conclusion is that there really is a dominant pattern. And I believe personally, this is just me, that this dominant pattern does hint at some underlying truth. And I think if we look at all words as sort of imperfect at explaining whatever it is they do, we can look at mother as a really powerful word for explaining what Earth does, which is nourish us, which is have cyclical fertility, which is create nourishment of its body, to be drank of, and I think that Mother Earth is almost as good, maybe even better than of a word than planet Earth, because Mother Earth is so unique in her properties and in her conventions that I think distinguishing her from other planets is something worthwhile doing. And I think it is the femininity, to me, the fact that we do call her she, is to me this one of the most compelling differentiating factors that we have about her. And I think that when I really look at it, when I really sit down and I look at it, and I look at the evidence, and even though I do believe that this dominant pattern hints at an underlying truth that the Earth has some sort of feminine entity, that she is a better word than genderless to describe her, we also have to reconcile the fact that Earth, even when she is deified, plays an extremely minor role in these mythologies, in these religions. And considering that every single one of us was born here, was born of here, and doesn't know any other home, I had a moment of feeling extremely small and irrelevant in this cosmos that we are all speaking about. And if Earth is not relevant, it felt in many ways, how could I matter? How could I be relevant? How could I contribute if even Earth, this magnificent planet, is relegated to a non-essential role in most of these theologies? But then I got to thinking that actually this doesn't make me feel small. It doesn't make me feel small because Earth is irrelevant. Earth's demotion as a major theological, mythological entity, to me, doesn't make me feel small because I'm a human on Earth. It actually makes me look towards the sky and say, maybe she is our mother, but maybe this isn't the end. Maybe one day we have to grow up. Maybe one day we have to leave home. We have to stop drinking of her breast. and we have to find our own way in the cosmos, and that she has a vital role and a crucial role, and we have a vital role and a crucial role in maintaining and keeping and worshiping her. But that ultimately, I think that she is so minor in all of these myths goes to show in some ways that maybe she isn't the end game. That in sort of a giving tree way, she wants us to drink and eat of her and create things and ultimately leave the nest and become more than what we are. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I do feel that, like I told you, that I do believe that the dominant pattern of Earth's feminization is hinting at some underlying truth, that the word she is valuable when describing Earth, that Mother Earth in particular is valuable when describing Earth, when searching for words to describe a planet as unique and as distinct as Earth in ways that we can actually understand. But ultimately, her lack of significance in a lot of these theologies and mythologies, to me, makes me believe. Let me collect my thoughts on that. So even though it's hinting at some, this dominant pattern is hinting at some underlying truth, and even though Mother is a suitable word for Earth, we have to reckon with the fact that she's not playing a major role in the most important and most pervasive mythologies and theologies of our time, and which makes me consider that maybe this is not the end, and maybe we need to go to a different location. But while we're here, I really do believe that we need to treat her a little bit more feminine, that we would really benefit from that, from being more grateful about her abundance, about her clean waters, in our showers, in our oceans, in our creatures, in all the creatures of Mother Earth. And so for me personally, I do feminize her, and I do think she's a more feminine entity than she is a genderless entity, and I will continue to feminize her because it does help capture the spirit of Earth, and it helps me remain grateful and reverential and humble before this spirit. But I don't necessarily believe that she is the end game for humanity. I think that she's the beginning, but not the end for us. So that's all from that perspective. What I do want to do is go ahead and write a little bit today. I want to take some time. We're going to be starting off writing a singular draft next week that is only edited on stream, so you'll be able to see the time lapse of that. So we're going to work on that next week. But for today, we're just going to do a little bit of a writing exercise in a minute here. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to do a writing exercise. What we're going to do is actually answer the question. Let me get it up for you. Does that work? If Earth is a she, what does she want? And I'm going to ask the audience if anybody has an opinion. That would be amazing. But if not, I'll walk through some of the ones that I think are interesting. And ultimately, maybe people in the comments can go ahead and ask any questions and leave any interesting ideas that they might have, even if it's not live in the chat. So I will be right back after a short break. thank you so much to everybody who joined the lecture earlier. I think moving forward, we are going to be doing shorter lectures and then going back to the bread and butter of what this stream was always meant to be, which is the writing streams. And so we are going to do a little bit of writing together as a warm-up, getting back into that. This research project on whether Earth is a she kind of consumed me, and I took you all down the rabbit hole, but I do think we're going to keep it tighter to a 7-minute intro moving forward. But I wanted to end the lecture in doing something that maybe I have a unique perspective on, which is trying to actually write these myths. Like when you're actually trying to write them, how you ask yourself sort of questions like this. And I was curious to try to ask and answer it live best I could to maybe get ideally a female perspective. I have spoken to women outside of this and consulted them, but that's not to say that as I've been clarifying them that I shouldn't continue consulting and continue asking for the opinion of women. So I did post on Instagram inviting people to come in and be heard, and I think this would be probably the best section to chime in, which is, if Earth is a she, what does she want? And you can do it live if you're here with me now, or if you're seeing this later as a clip, you can go ahead and leave a comment and I will respond to every single comment. And let's keep a dialogue going. Let's see what people think about the arguments or the ideas that I presented, just as a guy who's kind of obsessed with trying to make the most truth out of a complicated idea that I possibly could, in earnest, and always open to being corrected, always open to being checked, always open to new opinions, always open to being told to fuck off, that I shouldn't be, I have no right to talk about any of these things. Like, everything's okay. I would rather everybody keep it as sweet as possible, but it's all very interesting. You know, my brother just had his second daughter, my second niece, and that happened today as I wrap up this series, and thinking about just femininity, and thinking about what my sister-in-law would want for her daughters, for her children, for her sons, kind of anyone. And so let's take a second to unpack this, and in honor of Jules, my sister-in-law, who gave birth today to a beautiful girl, Jessie Frida. This is in honor of you. We're just having an exploratory conversation. This is not definitive by any means. I hope everyone can have a respectful, nice chat in honor of them. At least if you want to hate me, hate on me, but keep in mind that this is in honor of them, and so it'd be nice if we could keep it sweet. So the first thing I think we can ask ourselves, if we say, if Earth is a she, what does she want? I think she might want to exist. I think that she's so mobile. She's always she's buzzing around, she's spinning, she's orbiting. And I think that level of motion, that level of dynamism, to me, makes me feel like she wants to be alive, that she wants to remain, or that she wants to remain alive. So I'm going to put that down as a first potential one. Let's do this together. Oh, I have a new mic. It just came in. I didn't get to set it up today, but I got a new mic, guys. It's gonna be big. Okay, let's roll. So the first thing I think we can say, to exist. Okay, I think that's a fair statement. Now, if Earth is a she, what does she want? I think so. She wants to exist. I think she wants a full 12-hour beauty sleep, because she is half the night. Half the time she's a night, so what does she want? She at least ends up getting a full 12-hour beauty sleep. I think she could, if she was personified, right? Like, so we talked about all that motion that she's doing. She's orbiting around the sun, and there's also this wobbliness, there's the wobbling to her as well, and there's also her axial rotation. So she's moving around so much that I think she wants something more. I think there's some energy to it, but maybe I'm wrong. But we're going to follow it continuously down this train of thought to see if we can think of anything she might want. So ultimately, if she becomes a mother, she's going to want to have children. So I think we could say she wants. Let's try to keep it clear. To exist. She wants to, let's make it even like that. She wants to exist. Get this stupid. Nick. Okay, so she wants to exist. She wants to be more than what she is. And I'll explain. I think like if ultimately she becomes a mother, and ultimately there's so much change happening, there's so much growth happening, there's so much death happening on Earth, that there is this driving, there's this yearning, there's this pulse of change, there's this pulse of things happening, where there, if she wants something that I do believe she might want something, and I think she wants to be more than what she is, which is why she keeps growing and destroying things, if we're personifying her for the sake of this exercise. So she wants to be more than what she is. Does she want to have children? Does she want to give birth to children? I feel like that's a little bit of a leap. Does she want light? Does she seek more light, do we think? I think maybe if she's spinning all the time, she wants a moment of stillness. So let's say you're twirling around all the time trying to escape your shadow. I think you would be a little bit exhausted and maybe want a moment of sitting still, a moment of stillness. No orbit or spin. No spin. No orbit, no spin. Okay. I think that's an interesting one. I think this idea that she's always restless, she's always moving, she's always growing, but then ultimately she wants a moment of stillness. She wants to stop moving. She wants to be okay exactly where she is. Okay. With who and where and what she is. She wants to be okay with who and what and where she is. So whatever her shame feeling is, or whatever it is that she wants to be and do and become, that is something that we got to that is something that she wants. She wants to be okay. She wants to feel at peace. Do we think she likes boys? If Earth is a she, what does she want? Does she like boys? She probably does. But what does that mean for us? Think about it out loud. I'm not sure. So she likes boys. Where do boys come from? So if she wants to be more than what she is, then we move these around. We say, wants to be okay with who and where and what she is. She wants a moment of stillness, no orbit, no spins, but she wants to be more than what she is. I think this needs to go here. So she wants to exist. She wants to be okay with who, where. Let's clean this up. Who, where, and what she is. She wants a moment of stillness, no orbit, no spin. She wants to be more than what she is. She wants to birth children. She wants to be a mother. I think that even goes before her liking boys. She wants her children drink of her. I think she likes that. I think she likes when we delight in her waters. I think she likes when we see our reflections in them. Maybe that's one. She likes when people see a reflection of themselves in her. I think that's kind of sweet. What else does she want? She wants her children to live. She wants her children to thrive. She wants her children to fulfill their destinies. She wants her children to live longer than she does. Does she want... Feel free to chime into the chat. Anything you think Earth might want. If she... That's what we're answering here. If Earth is a she, what does she want? That's what we're answering here. What could she want? We're having fun with it. You know, we're doing a little exercise. She likes when people see themselves in her. I think she likes for her treasures to be treasured. She has all these fruits. She wants them to be tasted. She has all of these beautiful gems. She wants them to be unearthed, right? So I think she likes to share. I think she's bountiful and generous. She likes to give. Why? Partially because she likes her treasures to be treasured. There's also this concept of like the wilds, like versus a garden, you know, where a garden has that kind of beautiful harmony between the wilds and a cultivated place. And I wonder, I feel like she wants to be wild, but she also wants to be cultivated and have a nice place, you know, and be a nice place. So there, and those are a little bit contradictory, but I think she can be contradictory, you know? I think we all are. I don't think that makes her feminine or not. I think that the sun is not necessarily contradictory, but I think we gendered non-epicene beings are. She wants her children to drink of her. She wants her children to become themselves, who they're meant to be, right? She likes when her treasures are treasured. Here's where we're at. what we're working on together, team, is if Earth is a she, what does she want? That's our little small writing exercise today. We had a longer lecture, and I just wanted to warm us back up into the writing. We're getting into it next week. But where we're at is we're asking the question, if Earth is a she, what does she want? And here's where we're at. We've got, she wants to exist, right? She likes existing. We found that all the movement, the solar orbit, the horizontal rotation, the wobbliness, all the growth on her, it just makes her feel like there's enough energy there, there's enough desire to exist, that she doesn't want to be swallowed into a singularity. And keep in mind that we are taking that perspective of like, if she is a she, so we're assuming that role. And so I think she also wants to be okay with who, where, what she is. Like, if we're arguing that she wants to be more than what she is, that she's always doing things, she's always moving, that I think there's going to be a time where she wants to be okay being exactly where she is, without orbiting, without rotating, without growing anything, just being exactly who and as she is, as she was meant to be. I guess not meant to be, but we said that she wanted that moment of stillness. We talked about that. No orbit, no spin. She wants to be more than what she is, right? So this is that idea. We said again that she's always active. She's so moving. She's always growing new things. There's always some new evolutionary thing happening. There's always some tsunami. There's always some new form, new creature being found, being discovered, being evolved, emerging. And I think she really wants to birth more children. I think that it seems that she's very comfortable with desiring to birth more, and is even more to the point of where a lot of randomness and a lot of them will die. But I do think she wants to birth children. If she's a she, that's a fundamental desire, as it's been proven that she does, right? She births a lot of children. There's a lot of forms that come about her. We also said that she wants her children to become who they are meant to be, so kind of fulfill their destinies. Like every form, maybe every one of her children has something they're supposed to do, and it's a sort of she just wants them to do that. It's not necessarily that she wants them to live forever. She just wants them to fulfill their ultimate being, their ultimate destiny. Remember, we're making this up all as we go along. This is our writing exercise that we're working on together. I would love to hear what you guys think. Is Earth a she? Is Earth a she? If Earth is a she, I would love to hear what you guys think. If Earth is a she, what does she want? Please go ahead and put it in the chat, or also if you're watching this later, go ahead and leave a comment. I will respond to every single comment on this video, because I would love a discussion, especially from women. I'm interested in all opinions. I think everyone has a right to talk about these things and explore them in earnest, as long as it's in good faith. But I am particularly curious about what the women have to say about my little presentation, about this thinking I've been doing the last like 3 weeks, and all these ideas that we brought together. But let's continue with the writing a little bit here. So she wants her children to drink of her. I think she likes that. I think she likes when we taste her fruits. I think she likes when we drink her waters. I think she loves that a lot of us are water, and then we end up returning to her, that we drink her every day. We bring her with us no matter what it is that we're doing. So I think that she likes to be drank of. That's a primary one that I think. I believe that she likes to be drank of. And I think an interesting one. This is one that's just kind of interesting that we're including, which is like, she might like to, when people see themselves reflected in her, like they look in a pond and they see themselves. I could see her liking that, like she may like mirrors and reflections and seeing things and being seen. I think that could be a cute one. It's not 100%. None of these are 100, but I do think that is one that could be quite interesting. And I think she likes when her treasures are treasured. I think that she has many treasures. She has many fruits to taste. So let's also include that. Why not? When she likes her fruits to be tasted. Nope. Okay, she likes for her fruits to be tasted. I think that's an interesting one. So let's bring it back to does she like boys? Okay. Does the Earth like boys? If Earth is a she. Okay. If Earth is a she. What does she want? Does she want a boyfriend? Does she want a husband? Does she want a dad? These are things that we need to ponder together. I think she does. I think she does. I think that she likes boys. And that she yearns for the same level of completeness that so many of us, who do seek, romantic sexual partners, are looking for that sense of completeness, that wholeness that a partner, a pair, a duality can bring. So who could possibly sleep with her? You're gonna have to read my myths to find out. But the earth gets laid. That's all I can say. I can say that in my myths, I can confidently say the earth gets laid. She gets laid. As is your goddamn right. Who's worthy of her? Good question. You're gonna have to read my myths, which are coming out, in sequence over the next couple of weeks. We're gonna be writing a lot of that together. But I think we're gonna put she likes boys. Which boys? How much do I tell you now? I can't tell you now. But if you read my mythology, you'll find that she does like boys and she does get laid. Who is worthy? Difficult question. We're going to have to work on that together in these next couple of live streams. Now, this is the last longer lecture format. We're going to do more writing like this. We're going to get into the actual words. There's going to be a version of this wherein a version of the manuscript that I only edit live, so we'll have a time lapse of the entire project. And even if I write offline, I'll edit it live. I'll show you guys the changes I make, explain them. So I just do everything live, or make all the, or just really expose the process. I think with AI, I spoke to a brilliant friend of mine today. His name's Carson, and we were talking about with AI, how just being able to see the process, and you can see the genuine energy and passion that I'm at least bringing to try to bring this information to you, try to articulate it, try to understand it myself, has meaning in this day and age. When people are cutting corners and asking just AI to give them the answer versus actually reading the text, which gives a much more nuanced perspective. I feel like I should ask AI whether Earth is a female. All right, let's do it. I don't know how to share it with you guys, but I'll copy and paste the prompt. I don't want to fuck anything up too much, but I'll copy and paste the prompt. I'll use Claude, and no project or anything. Is Earth a she? Is Earth a she? That's all I asked, okay? Asking Claude, no deep research or anything. Is Earth a she? Doesn't have one true answer. It depends on what kind of claim you're making. A few distinct senses worth separating. Grammatically, English has no fixed answer. She for Earth in ships, countries, nature is a poetic, traditional convention, not a grammatical rule. Many other languages assign Earth a fixed gender. Die Erde is feminine in German, Gaia is feminine in Greek, but that's an artifact of how those languages gender all nouns, not a claim about Earth itself. Keeping in mind, we've already said that there is more evidence than just that we presented today. So us doing more research than Claude is able to present right now. Let me try to get this on the screen for you guys. Let's actually review what AI says. I don't want any funny business. So if you just give me one moment here, I will get window capture 3, get Claude on the screen for us. All right, let's go for it. All right. Then we're doing it together. Okay. Transparency. And I'm all about that. Okay. So I have obviously used AI a bunch to help me with researching different things, but I had to read a lot of papers and things that are like not Creative Commons that you have to like actually research. You have to buy papers. You have to read them. So I haven't leaned on AI so much for the culmination. It's just too many different pieces. And I asked a blank chat, is Earth a she? And we were told, is Earth a she? Doesn't have one answer. Depends on what kind of claim you are making. A few distinct senses worth separating. Grammatically, English has no fixed answer. She for Earth and ships. Country's nature is a poetic traditional convention, not a grammatical rule. Many other languages assign Earth a fixed gender. Die Erde is feminine in German. Sorry if I butchered that. Gaia is feminine in Greek, but that's an artifact of how those languages gender all nouns, not a claim about Earth itself. Keep in mind that that's what Claude says, but we already proved that even languages that don't gender their nouns also feminize Earth, and so we have more insight via more research than Claude does at the surface level. So let's continue. Mythologically, Earth is a very widely personified as female. Gaia, Terra, Prithvi, Pachanama, Papataunaka. I don't know. I've never even heard of that one. Usually paired against the Sky Father. So that's exactly the Daya that we brought to the table. But this is far from universal. Egyptian Ged, which we did note, is a male earth god under the sky goddess Nut, 100% confirmed. And plenty of traditions don't gender the earth at all. The Mother Earth image is real and ancient, but isn't a global constant. Scholars like Sam Gill have argued it's been overstated as universal archetype. I agree with Sam Gill. But I also believe that it is a dominant pattern. So philosophically, the interesting question is why fertility, nurture, and generativity get coded as feminine in the first place, which is more a claim about human cultural categories, Ortner's nature, culture, female, male, I'll explain it in a sec, than about the planet. So coded is feminine in the first, which is more a claim about human cultural categories, okay? So Earth is called she in many traditions and in poetic English for reasons worth taking seriously, please. Worth taking seriously, but that's a statement about us and our languages, not a property of the rock itself. Interesting. So that we checking our own work against that. Let's just ask it. I'm just going to put my whole presentation that I just shared with you live here. Let's do it and ask it to check my work live. And if I eat shit, I eat shit. Okay. If Earth is a she, no, that's not the one I want. Let's get this cooking. I'm a little new to Obsidian. That's all right. I think that we can check our own work. So we can say that grammatically we actually know more information than it does. It trivializes. It's locking itself into the only gendered languages. That's what it's saying. It's limiting it to that. And it's true that over 50% of languages don't gender their nouns. At the same time, the pattern persists across languages, across language families, and across languages that do not gender their nouns, like Mandarin Chinese. And it continues like out into Eurasia, across language families, including Indo-European and Sino-Tibetan. And so we were more on it than the AI. In that sense, it is missing some information. Mythologically, we nailed it. We nailed the whole thing. Scientifically, no, a planet has no sex or gender, 100% agree. Calling it she is a metaphor, not description, couldn't agree more. Philosophically, the interesting question is why fertility about that. Yeah, that we discussed. I think we have a more interesting, more complete narrative. I think it's underplaying the unanimity of the philosophical debate that that even those who are critical and say that it could be dangerous, it agree about the unanimity of the philosophy. That you have to really stretch yourself to find examples of people not when it comes to the upper pantheon. Finally, theologically. Okay, let me ask it theologically. How about theologically? Theologically, it splits hard along traditions, and the split itself is the interesting part. Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, roughly half of the world's people broadly say no, Earth is a creation, not a deity, and certainly not a goddess. This is exactly what we said. In Genesis, the Earth is made by God. It's a thing brought into being, not a divine she. The whole monotheistic move is partly defined against Earth goddess worship. The polemics against Asherah, Baal's fertility cults, etc. are exactly about refusing to divinize the land. So, in strict theology, Earth is and it, a created order, sometimes addressed poetically, but never worshipped or gendered as sacred. That's what we said about monotheistic not being all about it. It's exactly what we said. However, grammatically, Hebrew, Eretz is feminine and Terra is feminine. That's true. And Shemayim, which is the Hebrew word for sky, is masculine. So we have Eretz, which is feminine, and sky, so in Hebrew. Polytheistic and indigenous traditions mostly say yes and mean it. Literally, Gaia, Prithvi, Bhumi, Pachanama, Tanuka are actual goddesses, objects of worship with Earth as a divine feminine person, not a metaphor. Here, she is a theological claim, not a figure of speech. The contested middle is where it gets live today. Catholic and Orthodox thought has a strong creation as mother strand. Francis's Laudato Si Linus, our sister mother Earth. I don't know what that is. That didn't come up in my research, so maybe need to check that out. Theological feminism, ecofeminism, Rosemary Radford Ruther, Sally Maffei says the world as God's body deliberately reclaims feminine and earth imagery for the divine, partly as a critique of a sky father monotheism they read as having sacralized male dominance over feminine nature. Interesting. Contemporary God, we did talk about all this stuff. The feminist nature side, we're in the green. Contemporary goddess spirituality, neo-paganism, interesting, unqualified yes, Earth as goddess at the center of that theology. That's something that is true, actually. Like Mother Earth and like fertility rituals in these paganist times, like women were really central to the community and really extremely valuable, and matriarchs ruled in a lot of ways. And the worship was a lot about fertility and progeny and survival and infertility. So I did kind of I didn't include a note about that. That could have been interesting for sure. And so theologically, the honest answer is it's one of the sharpest dividing lines between monotheism and traditions it defined itself against. That's exactly what we said. Most monotheists say Earth is created and therefore not a she in any sacred sense. Most Earth centralized traditions say she is divine and feminine in the fullest sense, and a modern reformed current inside the monotheisms is actively trying to renegotiate that boundary. Want me to go deeper? So that's quite interesting. That's us checking our work against Claude there. That's us checking our work against Claude. Let's go put Claude away. Let's get Claude out of here. There it is. All right. So now we can go back to if Earth is a she, what's she like? We decided that she does like boys. Who is worthy of making love to Earth? And that's a question that we are going to have to look into my mythology to really understand where my perspective comes from, just as a fun answer. But these are the things that we decided in the writing portion of this session that she wants. So she wants to exist. She wants to be okay with who, where, and what she is. She doesn't want to keep moving. She doesn't want to keep growing. She wants for one moment to be precisely okay with exactly who and what she is. She wants a moment of stillness, no orbit, no spin. That's like what we said. she wants to be more than what she is. Like, we are arguing that like she has so much motion, so much growth, so much energy, so much spin, so much orbit, that she may want to be something. She may want to do something. She wants to be more than what she is, because she's always birthing new things, creating new things out of old things. And we can say that she wants to birth children. That continues exactly with what we were talking about, where she wants to be more than what she is. Part of that manifests in a feminine way. Here we're saying if she's a she, as birthing children, and she wants her children to drink of her. Where we argue that she enjoys being drank of by her children. And we also argue that she wants her children to become who they are meant to be. So she doesn't necessarily need them to live forever. She doesn't necessarily need them to outlive her, but she wants them all to fulfill their purpose. And it would be a damn shame, I think, and she would weep and mourn if there was a tragedy that prevented one of her children from fulfilling their destiny. We also said that she might like when people see themselves reflected in her, like in a shadow. I mean, in her reflection, like in a pool. We thought that could be an interesting one, that she might like to be beheld in that way and be seen in that way. We said that she likes when her treasures are treasured and on earth, all the glittering, beautiful gems and majesties that she has in there, all the nutrients. And she likes her fruits to be tasted. She has all these delicious fruits, so nutritious. She likes when we taste them, when we taste of her. And we decided that she does like boys. And we're going to discuss that more in our mythology as that comes up. And I did make a promise to you all that Earth does get laid. I promise. We feminize her in our mythology, but she does get laid. Promise from me to you. And it's fucking awesome. And we said, who is worthy of making love to Earth? And that's something that we're going to need to work on together. In our mythology, I'll kind of present a story, a love story between Earth and a suitor actually worthy of her. So anyway, that's the end of this episode here. We went through a recap of is Earth a she, the entire argument, and then we broke out theologically, did a little bit more of a deep dive in there, and then I gave my own personal opinions about whether or not she's a she, and then ultimately we decided to enjoy a writing exercise where if Earth is a she, what does she want? And we worked on a few of those together. No one ended up chiming in the chat just this time, just yet with what she might want. But I would like to take this opportunity to encourage anyone who's watching this later on and actually got to this point, well, thank you. And especially if you're a woman, if you don't mind chiming in, what do you think if Earth is a she, what she might want? Please make yourself heard. I would love to hear from you. And I will respond to every single comment. So if you would like to have an earnest dialogue with me, I would love that. I would so appreciate that. And with that, I'll be live next Sunday, 7:07 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be moving forward with more writing and a shorter lecture, but still one that I think is going to be extremely interesting. I'm already looking forward to it. So with that, I bid y'all Godspeed, and thank you for joining me today.